Hello there, welcome to a new PHP tutorial. In the previous video we had looked at for loops and it was very straightforward. We created a simple tree and we said Happy New Year. There is another loop, okay, which is while loop. Now while loop is very straightforward. You should initialize your variable or counter in advance, or maybe you have a condition that doesn't need a counter. The condition is checked first, and then maybe you increase the counter at the beginning or at the end, and then you do some processing. Yeah, it's very straightforward actually, and yeah, if you can see that I did some work, but anyway. So if you display this, you get numbers 1 to 100. So let me explain the code. I start with a counter of 0 and I'm checking I didn't reach 100. If so, the code inside the while loop gets executed. I increase the counter, so initial value 0 becomes 1 and display the number. And then 1 is checked against 100, still less. So the code goes, I becomes 2 and I display the value, and so on and so forth until I equal 100, which is being displayed, and then because of that the code exits the loop. And if you think about it, while loop is almost the same as for loop. So let me show you here, right? Okay, so let's have a look. So here you have an initialization of the variable. Here you have initialization of the variable. And here you have a condition that get tested first or tested against before entering the body of the loop, right? So here you have a condition that is being tested against before entering the body of the loop. The code get executed. In this case, the code get executed, and if everything goes well, later on, this part get executed to increase the counter. In this case, we just moved it here. We could move it after the echo, no problem. So, and then the code goes back for checking, and after this one get executed, the code goes back for checking. So it's the same thing if you think about it. It's the same loop, except that the initialization is being included in the for loop and then increment in a separated place, just organizing things, but basically it's the same. And I don't think I need to explain much about it now. Yeah, so I don't want to modify anything here, so let me see, undo changes, discard changes. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, so now given these, we will now work with functions. So we have 07 functions.php. So let us start with this PHP. Okay, so what is a function? Basically, it's a block of code that receives a number of parameters and do some work and return a result. I assume you already know that, but just in case. So what functions are there, or what examples of functions do we have in PHP? Well, like all other languages, there are built-in functions and there are your own functions. So example of built-in functions, you could, for example, say a equal sqrt of 100. So sqrt is for square root. Okay, so this is the square root of 100, and b equals the sign of let's say 30. Okay, for example, and c equal the hyperbolic sign, okay, for let's say the whatever. I'm not sure I'm doing this right, but you know. So there are, in this example, these are math functions, math built-in functions. There are other functions for example, for strings. So let's say an equal str to upper hello. So str to upper will convert a string from lowercase letters into uppercase letters. Okay. Yeah, so let's start working with these and see them. Echo, and let's save. So let's go back, refresh, and click, and you have hello capital. Okay, so let's put one of the character capital, and we refresh again. You will always get capital. Convert all the letters into capitals. Okay, so there is also, I think, sub str, yes, and in this case Smith, and I want to start from 0 and want 2 characters. So basically I'm getting the first 2 character, which is, or maybe 3 characters, which is SMI. Right, so let's refresh. This is SMI from Smith. Okay, very straightforward, not much to say about these. Okay, there are many functions that are available for you, and whenever we need one, we will go to W3 School and search for one. That said, the important thing is there is user-defined functions. We can create our own functions. And how do we do that? Well, simply you write the keyword function, and then you assign a name. So in this case, let's assume we want to create a function that will add 2 numbers. So I'm going to call this add. Okay, and the first parameter, I have to give it a name. So this is going to be n1, and the second parameter n2. Okay, and you open a curly bracket and the close one. Now the result n3 equals n1 plus n2, and when I finish the calculation I will just say return n3. Okay, now let's try this out. Okay, so instead of this I'm gonna say add, this is gonna be 10 and 20, and we save, and let us refresh, and we got 30 because 10 plus 20 equal 30. So this is one example. Let's add a function to find the average, AVG, average of 2 numbers, n1 and 2. Okay, 2 numbers, and I'll say n3 equal n1 plus n2. Put them between brackets, then divide by 2. Make sure to put them between brackets, otherwise you will have n1 plus half n2, which is totally different, and return n3. Okay, so here I'm gonna call AVG. Let's save this and we refresh. 15, so 10 plus 20 is 30, divided by 2, 15. And if I forget to put the brackets here, I will get the wrong calculation. So let's run. You get a 20 because 10 plus half of a 20, which is also 10, results in 10 plus 10, which is 20. Yeah. So don't forget the brackets, priority, to specify the priority. Yeah. So let's add something a little bit more interesting. Function. factorial. Okay, and I'm gonna say f equal 1, and then I will use while n doesn't equal 1. I will say f equal f multiplied by n, and then n equal n minus minus. Okay, and finally, return f. So what does this code mean? So f equal 1, when you want to find the factorial, right? Yeah, so let's say for factorial is actually, let me see, put a comment here, is actually 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by, 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1, right? So first I'm just saying f is 1 so that f has an initial value, and while n doesn't equal 1, n represent the factorial, so let's assume it's 4. So I will say f equal f multiplied by n. So 1 multiplied by 4 resulting in 4, and n decreases so it becomes a 3, the second digit. Later the condition is checked, it's not 1, so the previous value of f get multiplied by 3, and n get reduced by 1 resulting in 2, and so on until it reaches 1, it goes out of the loop, and you get the result. So here I'm gonna say factorial of, let's say, 4. So factorial of 4 is 4 by 3, 12 by 2, 24, and we refresh 24. Okay, if you want, let's say I will put 20. This is going to be a very big number. Yeah, 20. Anyway, so yeah, this is for factorial. Now let's make things a little bit more interesting. Let's find the summation. Okay, so let's create another function, summation, and actually n here, and pretty much the same thing, f equals 0 this time because we want to add all numbers. So while I want to find the sum, when I pass n equal 10, I want to add the numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so here while n doesn't equal 0, I could just say f equals, I could write it like this. Okay, and this means f equal f plus n, so maybe I should write it like this. Yeah, and by the way, I need 2 statements. There you go. N minus minus semicolon. So let me say here summation of 4. So we have 4 plus 3, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 1. It should be 10. So let's refresh, and whoops, I did something wrong certainly. Oh, I didn't return the result. Do you see that? I didn't return. So I have to say, I have to write return $f, and we refresh, and we refresh here. Okay, there you go. So now we are getting the result. Yeah, very straightforward, and I think you get the idea. Now I could pass not only 2 parameters, I could pass 10, 20, whatever I need, but of course I need my function to have a similar number of parameters. Okay, and functions not only do calculations, you could display values. So later on, when you design a website, you could, make things a little bit more dynamic. So you could create a function to display the header, function to display the footer, and you can pass to them parameters to display the name of the website and things like that. So let's try to do something um, similar to this idea. Okay, so here function render HTML, and here I'm gonna say MSG. Okay, so here I'm gonna say echo. Okay, so echo h1, sorry, slash h1. Okay, and I'll put this $sign MSG. Okay, sorry, and then BR semicolon. So now all I'm gonna do is say the following: render HTML PHP tutorials semicolon, right? So if we refresh this page, you get PHP tutorials. Okay, so now let's add a few parameters to make this a little bit more dynamic, such a way that makes it easier to use it again and again. So in this case, I'm gonna say heading. So instead of this, okay, so heading, and okay, so what is happening is that I'm replacing the HTML tag with the value that I'm gonna pass. So basically, if I say this is gonna be h1, it means h1 heading tag, as you can see here. So if I refresh, not much change, but if I put h2 here and refresh, it's smaller. So let me show you here. I will call the function multiple times. There you go. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I refresh. You can see how it works like this. Or even better, I could just say for I equals 0, I equal 1, I smaller than 10, I plus a plus. I will just call render, and so since I goes from 1 to 10, I will call this function 10 times. So in the first iteration, 1 will be joined with h, so it will display the message in h1 tags. When I goes to 2, we will display the same message inside h2 tags. And when it's 3, we'll display the message inside h3 tags, and so on. So let's have a look. Okay, so basically there's a limit at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think, is there an H0? I'm not sure. Let me have a look. 5, oh, no, certainly not. So I think there is only 6 headings. Yeah, so this is awesome. So you can see with very little work we did something like this, right? Now let's assume let's also add few things, and the reason I want to show you how you could write complex functions is not very complex, very straightforward. Followed by here new line. Okay, so this will be a flag indicating that you want a new line. So instead of this br, I'm gonna say if new line echo br, right? So now I'm gonna say here followed by false, right? So let us refresh. Oh, yeah, certainly. Well, the reason is that each one of these is actually what uh, already get displayed in its own line, so a new line won't make sense here. Okay, no problem. So maybe I could change this a little bit. I'll make this instead, let me replace it. I'll make this color. Okay, so instead of this one, let me put this back. BR. Okay, let me say style equals. Okay, so I'm just concatenating things here. There's a better way to do this. We will look into that later on, but anyway. Let me see if I remember correctly. In CSS, you write it like this. Color, something like this. Color, there you go. And if we want to display this in red, let me make this a little bit. This is H1. I want the color, oops, I want the color to be red. So red, green, blue. Okay, and I'm sorry, red, this is gonna be green, and this is gonna be blue, if I am not mistaken. I hope this is it. Refresh, and you can see now we have a single function. I pass a value, the type of heading I want, or the size of heading, and the color, and it renders the things I want. So the idea behind this, it doesn't matter if you don't understand what I did here right away, but what the idea is, when you write a function, the function could render part of the web page. So when you look at a very big website, it's not all rendered using, let's say, linear PHP code or HTML code. Maybe there are a number of PHP functions specifically written to render, let's say, the item or the shape or the CSS and things like that. Okay, and this is why PHP is very powerful and desired, because it allows you to create dynamic content on the fly, right? So here, this is not fixed. We could actually make a change with each iteration. There should be a function rand. Yes, so let's have a look. So I'm gonna make this color change. So let me say for this one, I'm gonna make it rand int. It should return the value between 0 and, let me see, what's the maximum value? 256 multiplied by 256 multiplied by 256, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so let's save and let's refresh here. Yeah, let me see, maybe let me see, rand int. Okay, so let me see how I could make this uh, let me 65536. Give me a second, please. Yeah, you can see that the color change is not very obvious, so maybe okay, let me see. If I, how do I convert hex? Okay, calculator. 256 multiplied by 256 multiplied by 256. Yeah, and I need to copy this value. Let me see. Select all and copy. There you go. I think now, oops. One six. There you go. 1 6. Yeah, whatever. We save. Fresh. Okay. Exactly 2 arguments. So I did something wrong. Yes, I did something wrong. So many things wrong. Anyway, refresh. Okay. Is there a change in the color? I don't see it. Okay. Very sorry about that. I think we are hitting the limit of this one. You can see now it's green, it's blue. So when you refresh the page, each time you can get the values in different color. So this is the thing about functions. You could use them to do calculation, to process strings, to render parts of the page. Okay, and we will talk more about them and use them more and more over time. And one of the things we will be doing later on is to build a simple content management system using PHP. Okay, and we will use all these tricks and things. For now, we're just learning the language. So I hope you find this useful. And yeah, that will be all. Have a nice evening and bye bye.